the Advancing the Kingdom podcast. We're streaming live on all social media platforms and podcast streaming channels. Get ready for a revelatory teaching from our apostle, Matthew Tillery.
Well, greetings. Good afternoon, good evening, rather. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Advancing the Kingdom podcast. Listen, I am your host tonight, Matt Tillery. Certainly, thank you for joining in on tonight. Listen, this is fourth Monday night, and normally on fourth Monday night, Dr. Denise Gooch, radiation oncologist out of Maryland, is usually on this podcast, Keeping It Real with Dr. Gooch. She has some more things, another meeting, and she couldn't be on tonight, but she will be back in December. So I'm excited about her coming back in December, fourth Monday night in December, kicking it or keeping it real with Dr. Gooch. But tonight I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about prostate cancer again tonight, and it's going to be a little different tonight because I'm just going to share my story tonight. Going to talk about some things that I endured, going to talk about some things that in terms of the treatment and all of that stuff. So we're going to jump right into tonight. It's a PowerPoint presentation, so hopefully you will get something out of it. Tell your husband, your boyfriends, cousins, uncles, any male women, and women need to be up here to listen as well, so you can go back and share with your spouse and those that you love. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast. I'm certainly honored that you are on tonight. Go ahead and hit the share button if you're on Facebook, if you will. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the ML Tillery Outreach. Let's go ahead and jump right into this story tonight. Listen, my prostate cancer journey, it started in Hampton, Virginia at the Hampton Proton Center. I chose Proton, and I chose Hampton Proton Center because really in 2022, which I was diagnosed in 2022 with prostate cancer, there weren't a proton center in this area or region. I believe Charlotte was building one, but I'm not sure whether that facility has been completed. But in this area, it was not a proton center in this area. So I started my journey in December of 2022. And when we look at African-American men, and you're probably always asking, Tillery, why are you always talking about prostate cancer? And it's like a lot of things you be repeating and you be saying the same thing over and over. Listen, Noah preached it was going to rain for years, and Jesus preached repent. John, that's all they repent, John the Baptist. So sometimes we need to keep hearing the same thing over and over so it can get in our subconscious. African-American men we are affected by prostate cancer at an alarming rate. With early presentation, it's a more aggressive disease with us, and there's a higher mortality rate versus white men or other races. So this is why it is so vital, it is so important that we get screened. Why? Because we have a higher mortality rate. African-American men, we have a higher mortality rate. So we need to get the early detection because early detection saves lives. So that's one of the reasons why we need to get screened. We need to get checked on a regular basis. And I'm going to talk about PSA a little further down, but listen, that's the good reasons because it's a higher mortality rate with us. And Dr. Gooch, she always says that no African-American man or men should be dying from prostate cancer. So when we look at Prostate Cancer Foundation, it recommends that black men, African-American men get a prostate specific antigen, which is a PSA. Going to talk a little more about that. Listen at this, starting at the age 40, starting at 40 years old. Why? Because once again, we have a higher mortality rate, and we need to get checked early because if we can check it, get it caught early, then we can go ahead and bring this thing and go ahead and deal with it if we can catch it early. We want to, if we have it, we want to make sure that it's not outside of the prostate, because once it gets outside of the prostate, then you have more issues. There are less opportunities. There are opportunities still, but there are less opportunities, I would say. So nearly one half of African American men, black men, we report back that we are simply uneducated about prostate. PSA specific antigen, prostate specific antigen. So our PSA screening is very critical, and also the DRE, which is simply a digital rectal exam. I know it's a little uncomfortable, but it's only uncomfortable for a moment. You know, it's uncomfortable for a moment, but even a DRE could save your life. So this is why I constantly stress, and I'm grateful for guys like Brother Victor and all the other guys that have been on the podcast that have a really great concern for men, African American men, to make sure that they're getting screened. Emmanuel Health Education does an extremely great job, and there are many other guys that I brought on this podcast. They have a heartbeat for black, particularly African American men getting screened. Why? Because we have a higher mortality rate. I need to keep saying that. We have a higher mortality rate. So we have to get educated. We can't be ignorant of Satan's devices, right? So when we look at, this next slide up here, it shows my, it's a result trends, and it shows my PSA. This is my actual report. It shows my PSA. And in 2021, it was 3.9 in March, and then May it had gone up. It was normal in March. In May, it had gone up to 4.2, and it kind of stayed around that point all the way through September. But then over in March of 2022, it came down. It was fluctuating. But then when you look at over in September of 2022, it had gone up to a 5.0. So that's really what prompted the doctor to go through and do the biopsy, because the PSA, it was fluctuating, and in 3 months it had gone up, but then it dropped back. So it started fluctuating. It wasn't staying the same. It was moving around. So in September of 2022, it was at a 5.0, and that's when I started to, they got more serious about it and started doing some more things. So when you look at the prostate, it's a walnut-shaped organ. What is the purpose of the prostate? The prostate is a walnut-shaped organ, very small, that lies underneath the urinary bladder. This is why older men, when we age, sometimes the prostate grows. It's called an enlarged prostate. So it grows sometimes. And when the prostate grows, because the prostate sets up under the bladder, it presses on the bladder. And that's why sometimes men, it presses on urethra tubes. So sometimes men have trouble using the bathroom at night, or you're getting up a bunch of times because you're not completely emptying your bladder out. Here's a picture of the bladder, the urethra tube, and your prostate gland. Once again, the bladder, the prostate sets under the bladder. It sets right directly under the bladder with the urethra tube coming out of the bladder. That's where your urine flows out through the urethra tube. Also, the urethra tube carries semen. So it carries semen from the prostate. When a man has an ejaculation, it carries that fluid from the prostate. So my radiologist report, this is my actual radiologist report. There were no symptoms. I didn't have any symptoms. The two arrows show that those are the two areas that was positive for cancer. And then I had other areas that were suspicious. So there's about 4 areas that suspicious. And Dr. Gooch talked about, because the question was asked, what is, when the area shows suspicion, what is that? It's just this, she said, I believe she said that the cells are just acting wild. You can't say it's cancer. You can't say it's not. It's just some unusual activities that's happening there, but we need to watch that and monitor that too. So what is, once again, the PSA antigen? PSA is prostate-specific antigen. It's a test that measures the amount of prostate or PSA that's in your blood. And you need to talk to your doctor about what is your level. What is your normal level? I know that they said from 0 to 4 is considered normal. But Dr. Gooch told us that you can have prostate cancer even if your PSA is 2. So you just simply need to have a conversation with your doctor about that. My PSA at the highest, it was 5.5. At the highest, it was 5.5. After my treatment, my PSA dropped to 0.64. I'm scheduled for another PSA next month, but the last PSA was 0.64. It had dropped way under the 1. So you can see how the treatment, an aggressive treatment, it went in there, dealt with what needed to be dealt with, and it went on and knocked some stuff out. So now my PSA is done every 6 months. Prostate for African-American men is recommended at 40. So even you don't have to be 60 and 70 you don't have to be 60 and 70 for your PSA to go up, for some abnormal things to begin to happen. When I was in Hampton at the Proton Center in Hampton, Virginia, there were younger men in there, much younger than I am. There were a gentleman in there in his 30s. So, it just you have to make sure, once again, if you're an African-American man, that you're getting your PSA screened. You need to get screened at least when you get 40 years old. You need to get screened because, listen, you said, man, I'm good to go. I don't have no problems in the bedroom. Everything is moving and jumping or whatever. But you still need to get screened because you could be dealing with some stuff and not have any symptoms. Listen, my PSA at the highest was 5.5, and I had absolutely no symptoms at all. None. I was using the bathroom. Nothing was out of order. And this is like, once again, no symptoms. But the only thing that I was, that got my attention and got the doctor's attention, it was that my PSA was fluctuating. And when it got way up there, like a 5.5, and some guys' PSA is way on up there. So, but at a 5.5, they did a biopsy, and that's when they found out that I had prostate cancer in 2022. Listen, African-American men, we are underrepresented in these clinical trials. This is why. This is very important. African-American men, we are underrepresented in these clinical trials. And this is why it is important that you be an advocate. If a doctor tells you that, listen, we're just going to watch it, we're going to wait and see what happens, lies. We're not going to wait to see what happens. Find you another doctor, or tell your doctor, no, I don't want to wait. I want to see what's happening. I'll do a biopsy. The biopsies are not comfortable at all. They are very painful. So they're not comfortable. But listen, you're not going to die from a biopsy, but you will die if you don't get that cancer taken care of. So African-American men, we are underrepresented in clinical trials for prostate cancer. Watch this, with a small percentage of participants being black, usually around 3 to 10%, somewhere in that range, 3 to 10%. So, and this is why African-American men, I'm staying on that, we have to be more aggressive with education and treatment. Say it again, Tillery, I believe I will. We have to be more aggressive with education and treatment. So listen, you navigating through your mentals, through prostate cancer. Listen, when I first was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I had to stay home that night because my wife had a class in Charlotte the next day. So while I was home, a lot of things were happening. It was going through my mind, and why me, Lord, and am I going to die from prostate cancer? So a lot of stuff was happening in my mind. But the next morning I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed again, and I prayed again, and I kept on praying. And I got to a couple of days. After a couple of days, it lasted 2 or 3 days, dealing with that stuff, because it's a big hit. When somebody tell you you have cancer, whatever type of cancer it is a tremendous hit mentally for you. But I said, well, just trust in the Lord, and you can't lay down and quit. You got to keep moving. So one of the things that I like doing is cycling. So I went out and got some miles in on my bike. And I'm very grateful that I cycle with a good team. Sheriff Clee Atkinson out of Tarboro, Edgecombe County, North Carolina, with some more great men and women that's in a good company cycling team. So we have a great time. It's a great place to release your stress. So I was still cycling. That was one way that I dealt with it. Now, you may have another way. You may say, one thing you don't want to do is go into a dark room. You don't want to get into a dark room and allow those thoughts to keep multiplying negative thoughts in your head. You have to surround yourself with men and women that's going to be positive about the outcome of your life. They have to speak life. And you have to believe that whatever I'm dealing with, whatever you have now, listen, this too shall pass, and you're going to be all right. So you have to stay focused on the things that you enjoy. What is it that you enjoy in life? You have to enjoy something. What is it? So whatever it is, focus on that. Focus on that thing that brings you joy. Focus on that thing that brings you peace. That's how you get through all of this stuff. Surround yourself with men and women that's going to make you laugh. We go cycling, we laugh, we have a good time. That's my stress. Come on, if I didn't go cycling, I don't know what would happen, right? So then you have to embrace those that love you and will be there for you. So embrace them. Let them, have a conversation with them. Tell them how you're really feeling. I know as men, sometimes we don't like to open up. We don't like to share. We hold so much on the inside because we're macho and we have to hold that. No, release that stuff, man, because if you don't release it, it'll release you. And the place and there's places and spaces that it will release you to, you don't really want to go to those spaces. Come on, God has delivered you and brought you out of those places. You don't want to go back there. So then you have to have a desire to live. You have to have a desire to live. I remember, and I may have said it on the podcast a few weeks ago, my urologist, he came in the office, he came in the room, and he was about to start the treatment with me, and he was looking funny, and he came in and dropped his head. I said, this is not good. And he said that he had just found out one of his patients that he had told had prostate cancer, went home and committed suicide. And this is what the doctor said. He said he didn't have to do that because the type of prostate cancer that he had, he could have lived from it. So guys, get in a place where you can just don't allow to get into that dark space, that dark room. And you have to have a desire to live. Enjoy the life that God has given you, and not just the life he's given you. Enjoy like you're going to live for a long time. So keep doing the things that you love. Why? Because you're going to have long life, right? You should have long life and good health. And then the last one is be your own best advocate. Be your own best advocate. If they tell you that we're some things that they're saying that you don't agree with it, find another doctor, do something. And listen, do your own research. Get educated about what you're dealing with. So when they come in there and tell you certain things, it's not going to be where they're just saying stuff to get you out of the office. No, because I started to question my doctor. I asked him about those places that were suspicious, and he had no manners whatsoever. He said, well, they're suspicious. They're going to eventually turn into cancer. I'm saying, like, the devil is a liar. Whatever you're saying negative, the devil you are a liar. So you gotta be an advocate for your own health. You have to be an advocate. Yes, we listen to the doctors, but at the end of the day, I started doing research. I did research on the surgery. I did research on photon radiation, and I did research on proton radiation. After the research, I came to the conclusion, in terms of the minimal side effects, that my option, this is Matthew Tillery. You can choose whatever option you want. This is Matthew Tillery. I chose Proton. I chose Proton radiation, and it worked out real well. Why? Because I never stopped cycling. As a matter of fact, I was up in Hampton in July, the last week of June. Was early July, the 1st of July, just before the 4th of July. And I think that next week we did my birthday ride. And I think that year it was 67 or it was 66 miles we did. So I was in Proton radiation and came home and rode my bike for 66 miles. So listen, you got to keep moving. You have to keep moving. That's why I always say keep paddling. Keep paddling is not just a reference to a bicycle. You have to keep paddling in life. You can't just sit around and give up and quit no matter what you're going through and no matter what you're dealing with. You may be dealing with some stuff right now, but you can't quit. You can't throw in the towel. You can't go in the dark room. You have to get back up and believe that God is going to bring you out of whatever you're going through. So once again, I had three options. Watchful waiting, which is what they call, the professional term is active surveillance, which they just watch your PSA and symptoms. Matthew Tillery says they just watch you die. But that is an option that they give you. Active surveillance, and I think you have to have your PSA and all your Gleason score and all that stuff has to be in a certain category, percentage-wise and all that stuff. But I didn't care about any of that. I just knew that that was not an option for me. And the second option is radiation, is photon radiation, and then there's proton radiation. I chose proton radiation at the Hampton Proton Center in Hampton, Virginia. And then the third was surgery to remove your entire prostate. And some guys said, look, man, I want my whole prostate out. I won't get it out of me. I don't want it in me. Get it out. And that happens sometimes. But then when we look at proton radiation, proton therapy delivers a beam of proton that stops at the tumor, so it is less likely to damage the nearby healthy tissues. Proton radiation stops at the tumor. It does not. It's a beam that goes to the tumor. Proton radiation, which is what I had, it goes directly to the tumor. It hits everything in that where the tumor is. It does not penetrate through. Photon goes directly through. It goes, and whatever is on the back side, the photon radiation has a tendency to get some of those areas back there as well. So listen, I'm moving quickly, and I'm almost done because I only have 6 minutes. So this is the slide you're looking at now. You should be looking at the last day of treatment. This is the last day of my treatment. It was a tremendous journey. My last day of treatment at Hampton Proton Center. I drove 900 miles per week for 8 weeks and 3 days. 900 miles per week. I stayed in Hampton on Monday night and Thursday night. So I stayed up there 2 nights a week, and I drove the rest of the week. So I had a total of 900 miles per week. If you add 900 miles times 8, so you're looking at over 7,000, almost 8,000 miles during that entire treatment. But that was the best choice for me. And you can see up from the picture, one of the nurses in the back, she's crying. We had a really good staff there. I never seen a staff that was that in sync with the patient in terms of their concern. They were just really good, and they helped relieve a lot of stress and pressure off of you. It was just like a family there. And so I was really grateful to God for allowing me to get there and be there. Listen, I knew it was God because my wife and I went to Hampton for our first visit to have a conversation with the doctor. That was on a Tuesday, and when we met with the insurance people and all of that stuff, and they says, Mr. Tillery, most likely you're not going to be able to get in because your insurance They have never accepted Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. And we started praying all the way back to Rocky Mount from Hampton, Virginia. And the next morning, on that Wednesday morning, they said it would be 4 or 5 weeks before they got back with me. They called me back the next day and they said, Mr. Tillery, we don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. The insurance company has approved 100%. So I give God praise for that, because I knew that was God, because the lady told me that has never happened. So I thank God for giving me the opportunity to go there, for giving me the time, the space, and even giving me the grace. Because listen, I needed grace driving in that car from Nashville to Hampton, Virginia. Sometimes those days were long. And not only that, the mental side of it. And as the weeks went on, it started getting more pressure and more heavy, which meant I had to pray more, had to believe God more. But at the end of the day, it came through and it worked out well for me. So once again, Hampton, proton radiation treatment, long journey, but to God be the glory. Hallelujah. Long journey, but to God be the glory. This was in 2023. And so it's been over a couple of years. So we're very grateful to God for what he has done and what he's doing. And listen, have a new book release date. The book has been done. I just haven't released it, called 300 Days I Survived the Storm. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer 2 weeks after my mom's funeral, 300 days from her funeral to the completion of the proton radiation. So it was a great time. This last photo is me at the Hampton Center. This is my last day. This is the day that I was ringing the bell. After we all got the tears out and dried the eyes, then we all started smiling and celebrating the ringing of the bell. So it was a great journey. I learned a lot of things in the journey. My faith has increased. And just very grateful and thankful to God that I got my PSA check. And listen, man, you need to get your PSA check. You need to make sure you stand on top of that stuff. You need to make sure that you're being the greatest advocate is you. Your greatest advocate will be you. It's not going to be your doctor. It's going to be you. And when something is not right in your body. Don't wait until things get so far out of alignment that you go to the doctor. So listen, I'm very grateful for all that the Lord is doing. And listen, you don't have to die from prostate cancer. Prostate cancer, if you can catch this thing, you can deal with it. You don't have to die, man, from prostate cancer. You can live. Your children want you to live. Your wife wants you to live. Your family wants you to live. So you don't have to die from prostate cancer. You just need to get screened. Hallelujah. So listen, I appreciate your time tonight. My time is up. Thank you so much for just listening at my heartbeat tonight. I wanted to share this, my story in terms of my journey with prostate cancer. So I'm just grateful for what the Lord has done and what he is continuing to do. And listen, God is going to do, and he will continue to do some great things in your life. Listen, I'm Matt Tillery. Until next time, go and advance the kingdom.
We pray you have been empowered and blessed by this teaching. Join us next week for the Advancing the Kingdom podcast. If you would like to reach us, email us at mltillery@icloud.com.